What sort of impact do you hope that Ben is Back has on the current conversation about the opioid epidemic?
I don't. I feel like the best thing this movie can do in terms of being a part of a conversation is hopefully just accurately describe the experiences of what it means to go through something like this. That I think everyone who's really educated about this epidemic has. I think what's exciting about the idea of this movie is that it doesn't necessarily present an idea of like, okay, this is what we need to do. In fact, what it succeeds in doing is describing it as what it is, which is kind of paradoxical and impossible and just, really tricky. And I think that, and it's, I think it honors the epidemic in that way.
Mm. Julie, any thoughts you'd like to
I can't add to that. That was pretty great.
Yay.
There we go. Perfect. Nailed it. Well, Lucas, why don't you tell us some of the physical, the way you approach the physical transformation for the role?
I shaved my head and grew out what little facial hair I have to offer, and vaped a little bit occasionally. Other than that, it's pretty much me. It's I think surprising what you can do to transform yourself simply by cutting off your hair. I didn't see it as much of a physical transformation. I saw it as more of just like perhaps turning up this volume a bit.
You
and
were
turning it down.
skinnier too.
I didn't. If I was, I was just. It wasn't necessary. It's hard for me to gain weight and lose weight at this point in my life. That's going to change in about 10 years. I think it's going to be.
You see, just take all the credit for it. Yes,
I lost.
He did a lot of things.
Right. Yeah. Julia, I appreciated some of the speeches that your character made, specifically about the sort of class privilege that your family has to a certain extent that other families don't, who are dealing with this issue. And I thought that touched on a really nice thing that's often overlooked in the conversation about opioids. Was that something? Was that a part you thought appreciated being part of the script?
You know, I think Peter did a beautiful job of really delicately, without big arrows pointing to them, touch on really salient points of the personal effect that this has on people. And, you know, the encounter with the drive-through pharmacist checkout lady and that conversation. I mean, I think he's really good at orchestrating these scenarios and getting these really important concepts across. And I think that was one of many that is really great to just get people to reconsider all that they're so sure about with how people deal with this.
Right. One other moment that stood out to me, your husband in the film is played by Courtney B. Vance, and he mentions
the brilliant
Courtney B. Vance, and he says that if Ben was black, he would be in jail already. And again, I thought that was a really nice thing to call out and point out in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. It's interesting to me that 25 years ago in the Pelican Brief, you started opposite Denzel Washington. They eliminated a potential romance in that particular movie. Were you happy here that you got to be
They
part
didn't
of the
eliminate a romance. I thought he was very much in love with me by the end of the Pelican Brief. I mean, I haven't seen it for a while, but I'm pretty sure that's how it ended. But yeah, so there was no romance elimination. If there was, I need to talk to my agent. But I loved playing Courtney's wife. I did often, try to conjure up my Angela Bassett fabulousness, and then I realized, I don't have that. And he's such a great actor. I mean, we were so excited when
the most beautiful voice I've ever heard.
He could read the phone book, and we would sit like this, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Does it speak to how much Hollywood has evolved that marriage is just treated completely naturally? It's not, I feel like back in the early 90s, interracial romance on screen was still rare sometimes. And so just that matter of fact here I thought was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think of it in a very matter of fact way.
Right.
So we were so lucky to get him. It never occurred to me anything other than how brilliant he is. But yeah, if that makes us of the times, then there we are.
Right. And especially just thinking of children seeing this depicted on screen. Maybe not young kids, but teenagers who are part of biracial families just seeing
Yeah,
it.
and my great 4 kids in this, just what a gorgeous little mix of heaven.
Yeah. Great.
Speaking of family, Lucas, your father obviously directed the film. How did that sort of impact your process? What was it like knowing he was watching your transformation into Ben?
Well, I don't know what it. I think I couldn't really. I had to divorce myself from the idea that my dad is watching this and make it purely a collaborative experience of. This is of my director trying to tell his story. And I think we did. I'm very proud of the ways in which we actually were able to just go to work together on this. I think that was my biggest goal, and the only thing I actually had control over. I really don't have control over anything other than the ways in which we collaborated on a daily basis.
Were there any scenes where you felt at all nervous of him watching you, or?
I'd say probably like the first week was just I was sort of. It took a minute for me to get used to it, but after that, it wasn't. It didn't feel like. Well, there was actually one scene where he gave me this note that it was like I have to really look like I'm really into this girl I'm talking to, and hearing I don't know it was
Your dad saying that.
There was something. I mean, there was something about me trying to channel that, knowing my dad is watching to go, like I pictured him being like, "That's real," or like that's not real. It was like, I didn't like that my dad had like like his finger on me in that way. But that was the one moment that I had to get over myself for.
The Oscar season's obviously starting. Julia, you've won an Oscar. Lucas, you're going to win an Oscar one day. Let's
get it.
Let's put it just like that.
What advice do you have to Lucas when he takes when he gets his acceptance speech? Because your acceptance speech is one of the all-time greats. I think we can all agree. So.
Oh well, one of the all-time out-of-body experiences, if nothing else.
Mine's one of the all-time great, soon-to-be acceptance speeches.
It's to just enjoy. You cannot in any way manage that experience, as I showed. So yeah, just he'll enjoy every second of it. I feel positive.
Yes.
Do you remember the experience of being up there and talking to the crowd?
No. I've heard it. I saw a picture in the paper the next day, so I knew it was true.
It's also the 20th anniversary of Notting Hill next year, and
Is
I think
it?
that it is, and that movie endures.
You said that kind of with an English accent.
I did. Yes, I did.
I feel like the "I'm just a girl" speech is still beloved. Do people still approach you about that today? Did Lucas do that for you on set?
They do. He did not. That's the sign of a very good, true friend.
Get mentioned most about? Is that?
That is the most quoted. No, the two most quoted lines would be that one and "Big Mistake."
Oh, okay. Wow.
Okay. All right. So you need to do that when you work together again. That's how.
Nobody quotes anything of mine. So, but that makes sense.
Well, they'd have to be broken and damaged on the sidewalk.
Exactly.
It might be embarrassing. Like, wait, Lucas, hold on just a second. Remember? Hold on.
Yeah, exactly. Start crying. Yeah.